Welcome to another episode of Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. Of course, I'm your host, JJ Kitchen. Guys, a new series on the podcast, and I feel like watching interactions on Twitter or X, as you want to call it now, one of the things that have lived through the test of time in college football, whether it was revenue, whether it was conference realignment, which what we're going through right now, and multiple teams going across country, regional opponents no longer available. Rivalries will always be a major factor in college football, not so much of the schools, but because of the fans. And the fans are really what drive the product. The fans are the consumers. And today is the first episode of the Rivalry Series here on Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. And I wanted to start with something different. And it really popped up on my X account, and I saw so much conversation on it because of a recent battle between these two schools. And as you saw on the thumbnail, it's the Friends of Cobalt, the West Virginia Mountaineers, who is my rival at Pitt, versus the Marshall Thundering Herd. And there's been a lot of discussion about these two schools, these two teams. And is this a rivalry? Is this something that should be played? Is it something that went dormant? And I got some stats here. West Virginia, it's been a one-sided affair. Only so many matchups so far when you look at these two schools. But I'm going to tell you why this rivalry should come back and how it's beneficial to really both schools, and it could really help save college football. First, the show is sponsored by Colonial Beer, located at 4986 Library Road in Bethel Park, PA, 15102. Guys, tremendous people, but anytime you can help out a small business, please do so. And for myself, obviously, Colonial Beer, tremendous people, season ticket holders at the University of Pittsburgh, but more importantly, great people and wanting to help people get their needs. Obviously, Colonial Beer, tailgating, your house parties, whatever you need. They have so many different selections. The pictures I posted on X are incredible. The amount of selection there, your heavier beers, your lighter lagers, multiple different IPAs. Go see them today. Colonial Beer, 4986 Library Road in Bethel Park, PA, 15102. Again, 4986 Library Road in Bethel Park, PA, 15102. The show is also sponsored by Thompson Law Group with Brian Thompson. Call them at 724-799-8404 or visit them at thompsonattorney.com. Brian Thompson, an individual that I use, a dear friend of mine, does plenty of work in the Pennsylvania and West Virginia areas. A guy who comes from a great family, has a great family. The best part about him coming from a smaller law firm, he cares about you, the individual. The larger law firms look at individuals as a number. Brian looks at you as an individual and making sure he gets the results that you need in your case, whether it's debt or anything else that you have a question on. Brian is the guy to call. He is more than willing to help, and he will help you and guide you through the process. If he doesn't know the answer, he'll still guide you through the process of getting you in the right hands with the right person to guide you through the issue at hand that you currently have. Again, Thompson Law Group with Brian Thompson. Call them at 724-799-8404 or visit them at thompsonattorney.com. And finally, the show is sponsored also by the K Collection Coffee brand by Austin Kitchen, the pitcher for the Seattle Mariners organization. Obviously, my younger brother, www.thekingscraft.com. I'm not a coffee person, but let me tell you something. I tried the AK Espresso, gets me going in the morning. Make sure you go online, take a look at these. Plenty of different subscriptions, plenty of different options. The K Collection, the AK Espresso is my personal favorite to get me going in the morning. Never in a million years did I ever think I'd be a coffee person. The K Collection has got me on board with that. Again, the K Collection coffee brand by Austin Kitchen, the pitcher and the Seattle Mariners organization, www.thekingscraft.com, the K Collection. Make sure you get that today. Well, guys, again, the Rivalry Series starts up. The Friends of Cobalt, which is pretty crazy to think about it overall. As someone like myself, people might say, well, you're a Pitt fan. You're not thinking in terms of WVU or West or Marshall in this aspect. I couldn't agree more. I'm looking at this from a center perspective of how this game could really generate a lot of eyeballs, but how it can personally help the actual state of West Virginia and how it can draw and generate a lot of eyeballs to this state. First off, just a couple of things to look at. This Friends of Cobalt started Okay, first meeting between these two schools, October 28th, 1911. WVU won that football game 17-15. They actually had the series overall 12-0. WVU has really owned that series, even with the days of Marshall having Chad Pennington, Randy Moss, didn't matter. WVU has had numerous great players through their history, and they have dominated this series. The last game in this series, they played on September 1st of 2012. WVU won this football game 69-34 in a whopping affair. As you can imagine, people might say, well, if it's only been played in only 12 games, it's 12-0. How could this even matter? What could people think about? For me, I think when I watch these two fan bases online, it's clearly a bunch of hatred. Now, Marshall fans have reached out to me. WVU fans have reached out to me. Marshall wants to play this football game. Tony Gibson, who is a former West Virginia assistant coach, especially back in the day with Rich Rodriguez, certainly made his way around, was a defensive guru at NC State, really had some damn good defenses at NC State, has returned back to West Virginia, his home state in Huntington, West Virginia, for the Marshall Thundering Herd. And it's funny, Rich Rodriguez makes his return back to West Virginia, his first year back there. It's almost a match made in heaven. Two guys that know each other. Rich Rodriguez in his opening press conference said, I'm not worried about what Marshall's doing. And then you look at a guy like Tony Gibson, who says this game should be played. It's a great game for the state, showing off talent, but more importantly, bringing fan bases together for a heated game, which I think Tony has a very good point. Now, I can understand from West Virginia's side of the whole rivalry purpose, where really, do you want to play this football game and have the potential of getting embarrassed by losing to a group of five school in the Sun Belt like Marshall? And I think that's kind of where fans are coming from, where Marshall says, well, they're clearly scared to play because if they lose, the absolute mental breakdown on social media would be crazy. And I kind of agree with that, because Marshall beat West Virginia recently in baseball, and it was an absolute mind-blowing affair in terms of the absolute blow up from WVU fans in terms of baseball. Could you imagine football, where football pays the bills? It's the front porch of every university. But we're going to go over the three aspects that I look at, three aspects that say this game should be played. And I think, for personally me, I'm a rivalry guy. I love rivalry games. I wish Pitt would face West Virginia and Penn State every year without a doubt. I think it should be played. Pitt and West Virginia are currently playing right now. After this coming season, it goes on a hiatus till 2029, which I think is a true disservice to college football. I think it needs to be played regularly and every year. But the first one, travel. And here's why it's so important in this aspect of especially West Virginia. West Virginia plays in the Big 12 Conference. You'll hear about Ren Baker. He currently talked about the Big 12 Conference. They're happy to be in the Big 12 Conference. They like the conference. They love the teams. But the Big 12 has added numerous teams out west: Colorado, Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah. And you look at the schools out there, BYU, they're out there. And then you also have other schools like Texas Tech. You're traveling so far. And when you look at the expenses of what West Virginia has to deal with on a regular basis, the only schools that are really even close to them are Cincinnati and UCF. And when you look at this from a creative perspective, it's in your state. Whether it's in Huntington, which I believe it shouldn't be a 2-for-1, it should be a 1-for-1, because it's in the state of West Virginia. It's helping multiple economies across West Virginia. This is a game that, regardless, is a true testament of what it could do for the state. But travel, it's so simple. It's so close to each other. This is a game that should be played every single year just based on that. It's an easy trip for both schools, limited expenses. You're withdrawing the major expenses of having to go across country or down south. You have the school right there, and it generates a lot of hype. So travel is really the biggest thing that I'm looking at is number one. Number two, for West Virginia, a group of five opponent. For Marshall, it's a larger opponent. It's a massive opponent for a school like Marshall, where they're in the Sun Belt Conference. They're looking for great opponents. They're looking for great games to get people to come to their football games in Huntington, West Virginia. West Virginia's that school. And I got news for you. It'd be a sell at every game. And the same vice versa for West Virginia. But for West Virginia's purposes, it's a group of five opponent. This is a game where you should win this thing every single year. You're 12-0 right now. One, again, we talked about travel. Two, it fits into your scheduling agreement. Okay, your schedule. West Virginia fans have talked about starting games off where they've had crazy opponents, where they've started with Power Four opponents almost during the Neil Brown era, all 4 or 5 years, the 5 years he was there, 6 years he was there. The scheduling was so crazy. They started with Pitt one year. They've had multiple different teams to start the year, and it's been a crazy type of game. Penn State, just last year? Penn State, almost straight rivalry games across the board for multiple years. You look at West Virginia, it makes a lot of sense to put a group of 5 opponent, your multiple rivalry games. You have your first rivalry game, obviously, being the University of Pittsburgh. You always want to have that game on there. They'll go into a hiatus, but after that, hopefully they have that game on board for consecutive years, for hopefully decades into the future. But then you have a group of 5 opponent. You don't want another Power 4 opponent where you're going to face someone from the ACC. I know fans have talked about Virginia Tech. That would be a good game to have on there. But when you look at what Ren Baker has talked about at West Virginia, he's talked about creating a scheduling where it's a lot like other teams around the country, where you have really, in the Big 12 aspect, they have 9 conference games. West Virginia having 9 conference games means 9 Power 4 games. Your group of 5, which will give you a 10th game, would be Marshall. Your other Power 4 game, which would give you to 11th game, would be Pitt. And then your last game, preferably, would be an FCS opponent. You'd have Robert Morris, Duquesne, Alcorn State. You'd have a Youngstown State. You have Albany, somebody like that you could throw on the schedule. It makes a lot of sense to put that on there. And with a group of 5 opponent, they're not going to have as many resources as West Virginia. And while they're still in the Sun Belt Conference, they're never going to reach to that level of West Virginia. It just makes too much sense. This is a game that you're supposed to win anyways. So why not have the game, especially when you're back and forth? At West Virginia, you're going to pack the house. It's going to be 64, 65,000 fans. WVU, the Milan Puskar Stadium only holds 60,000 fans. Still a good venue, but you're going to have standing room only, especially when you have people coming from Huntington, West Virginia as well, and the West Virginia fans will certainly show up. We've looked at a number of different games over the West Virginia schedule where they've sold out only the last 2 years, or last even 3 years, the last 3 times, versus Pitt and Milan Puskar Stadium, and Penn State. That's been it. This is another sellout game, which leads me into that point. A showcase for the state of West Virginia, my last point, and revenue. You're showing off the talent. They've got, obviously, their rosters are not full of West Virginia kids. The state is not that deep in terms of talent, but you're showing off the state of West Virginia and the people of West Virginia and the fans, the diehard fans on both sides of this rivalry. You're creating revenue. You're bringing people in, multiple different economies between Huntington, Morgantown, you name it. You've had those places where the money is staying in the state, and you're showing off how great of a rivalry this can be over years on end. And I think that when you have a head football coach at Marshall, like Tony Gibson, who's coached at West Virginia, Rich Rodriguez, who's back at West Virginia, it's almost like these two worlds are meant to collide. And again, it's a rivalry game. Fans want to see desirable games. And again, when you look at these two schools, they certainly don't like each other. I think down in the deeps of both of these fan bases, West Virginia fans might not say it, but they want to face this game. They want to beat up on them. West Virginia fans want to prove, hey, yeah, Marshall's their little brother. And then Marshall fans want to say, hey, you're scared to play us? Come down here and face us. We'll even come up there to Morgantown and face you on a year in and year out basis. It only makes sense. This is a rivalry game that should be played. And from an outsider's perspective, this is a game where I'm a Pitt fan. I certainly do not like West Virginia. Go home, Mountaineers. And I certainly don't cheer for Marshall. But this is a game. If it's played on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday, I'm watching this football game. This is a game where it's heated. You're watching the fan bases get after it. You're watching these teams get after it. And I got news for you. Those two football teams on that field, they'd be getting after each other. They'd be getting each other's grills pretty quickly. One, it would be an ass kicking on either side. But guess what? The 6 inches between these two helmets, they get after it. This is a football game that I want to see, and I think it should be renewed, and this would be a great game and great for viewership in college football as well. Guys, in the comment section below, let me know your thoughts. Should the Friends of Cobalt return? Should West Virginia face Marshall? Should West Virginia finally say, you know what, we're not going to be scared to face this team or face of a loss. We're going to face this team and prove we are the owners of this state. We are the big brother in the state. And as fans of Marshall, let me know what you guys think. You guys have been wanting this football game. Are you guys nervous about facing West Virginia? Do you think because you're down 12-0 in the series, is it even worth it? Do you want to play this football game? Let me know your thoughts. General fans, let me know what's the next rivalry you guys want me to talk about. Again, the new rivalry series has started. I'm starting with a heated one, West Virginia versus Marshall. Guys, thank you always for tuning in to another episode of Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. As always and forever, hail to Pitt and hail to the ACC. I'll see you next time.